Joe Siracusa, Professor of Political Science at Curtin University, joins me live now. Joe, the President there speaking very fondly of Prince Philip.
Yes, Prince Philip has a big following in America. You know, he lived through 18 presidents, got to meet 11 of them, and I think got at one stage, and he's also television interviews. So he brought the monarchy into modernity. But I'll tell you what, he struck most Americans who have a love-hate relationship with monarchies. Well, they do like the royal family though, because it's kind of the original Bold and the Beautiful. I mean, this is the original soap opera in America, from the 1770s to the present. This royal family. It's always a good story there, a juicy story, whatever it is. And he had this extraordinary ability. He had this attribute that God gave him. He actually, he looked normal, and he'd go off script and he'd say things that are normal. I remember the one occasion where he said the number one attribute of a long marriage is tolerance. And he looks at his wife, doesn't say a damn word, and says, and she's got a lot of it. So, he actually says what people are thinking, and people liked him. He could go to a bar in Milwaukee and have a pint with a local bar and have a good time. He looked normal. And of course, that was in contrast to his children, who didn't seem normal at all. I mean, they seemed to have broken all the commandments, and you got the next bunch of kids who have trouble staying on the rails. And he was always the guy to kind of straighten it out. So, and it was a great yarn. He married this young woman at a time when Walt Disney was pushing princess marriages, but at the same time, the British Empire was no more. It had become a commonwealth. And so he's trying to put on a good show and all the rest of it. And I think it's important for people to remember that he sort of paved the way for how the Anglo-American relationship, it was always called special. But up until the 1930s, America and Britain were at loggerheads and at war half the time. So, he's part of the new special relationship. But I think it was his normal touch, the common touch that Americans liked very much. And look, I grew up in an Irish neighborhood in Chicago where they hated the English and they cheered Mountbatten's boat blowing up off the coast of Ireland. But they never said a bad word about this guy. I mean, the rest of the Irish were very hateful of the time of troubles, but he took it off. Look, he was a good guy, and he also took an interest in the world, environment, technology. He got all those kids on the right road with those little bit of financial backing and pointing them in the right direction. And so, he also was married to a woman who had a lot in common with the Kennedys, for example. When Elizabeth was a little kid, John Kennedy's father was the ambassador in Great Britain. When he left under the auspices of appeasement, which had failed, his last words to Britain were, "The democracy has failed in Britain." Well, actually, it hadn't. And then when John Kennedy died, who did they send as the royal mourner? Well, they sent Prince Philip. So, the circle was rounded. He got to go to the funeral, and everybody saw that. He's had a very special place. And as you know, Americans, they love this monarchy business. I mean, if Harry wants to run for governor of California in a couple of weeks, he probably would if he can get his green card straightened up.
I think you make a good point there, Joe. The fact that he did seem so approachable, and I think that's why he was so well liked, not just with Americans, but also with much of the Commonwealth, including Australians. Look, let's focus in a little bit on the US at the moment. Yesterday, we heard that the president issued 6 executive orders which aim to curb the gun violence in the country. Do you think this is an adequate start, Joe, or does more need to be done?
Well, it's as adequate as it can get. Look, he's just sort of playing with the edges here. I mean, he's doing what he can do as an executive. You really can't stop those assault rifles and those 100-round clips without proper legislation, and he can't do that. What he's done is he's going to make it harder to buy one of these ghost guns, which is one of these guns you buy at Walmart and you assemble in the shed or the garage at home. And there are no marks on it, so they're used in crimes and left out in the street, so you can't trace them, that kind of thing. He also wants to set up legislation so that other states can follow putting guns out of the hands of people who are involved in disputes or domestic disputes or employment disputes, and he wants to put guns out of reach. But look, there's very, very little he can do to put the big guns out of the way, but he's making his move. But he's got some other things on his plate right now. He's got a reparations committee looking at paying blacks reparations since slavery in 1619. He's established another committee to look at packing the Supreme Court, which is a very bad idea. Franklin Roosevelt tried that in the 30s, and he got a bloody nose for it. And he's trying to get his $2.2 trillion package over the line now. I mean, he got the COVID package over the line. Now he's trying to get the infrastructure. And he's trying to calm down the left wing of his party, which is coming in for its piece of flesh. I mean, Senator Warren and Senator Sanders, they want that relief for college kids' bills, and they want a wealth tax and all that kind of thing. And yet, with his program so far, Wall Street seems to like Joe Biden. He's not going to be a disaster unless he becomes unreasonable. So, the economic side of America is trying to deal with him. But he's going to have a problem in a couple of days if that jury in Minneapolis returns an acquittal on that police officer who killed George Floyd. I mean, because there'd be riots in the streets right across America. So he's going to have to settle people down on that. So he's got a lot on his plate. And as a foreign policy guy, I get up in the morning. I want to know where the American fleets are. I want to know what the Russians are doing, the North Koreans are doing, the Iranians are doing. And today, 2 American warships have gone through the Black Sea with permission with the Turks, and they're going to try to intimidate the Russians, who are getting very close to moving into eastern Ukraine. And, of course, President Biden said he was going to stand with the Ukrainians, which is a dumb thing to say because there's absolutely no obligation to do so. And the Chinese are putting enormous pressure on the Taiwanese, and they're throwing Hong Kong dissidents in jail. So, the America's committed in all these places. So when the president wakes up in the morning, he's got domestic problems, and he has foreign problems, and he's got his problems with his own party. So Joe Biden has very full days, I can assure you.
Just quickly, Joe, before I let you go, there's one question that I really need to talk to you about. Former Olympian turned reality TV star Caitlyn Jenner is reportedly considering running for governor of California. What are your thoughts?
Smart move. Jenner's a smart woman, and let me tell you this. She's using the playbook that Arnold Schwarzenegger used in 2003. She wants to come in at the end of the recall. Now, over 2 million Californians have signed a petition to get rid of the Governor Newsom, for various things. They don't like the way he's handling COVID and immigration, maybe stuff like that. So there'll be 2 questions on that referendum in June. Number 1, should Governor Newsom go? And then number 2 is, who would you replace him with? And under that number 2, last time in 2003, were 130 names. And so Schwarzenegger was able to use his fame and his name recognition and his celebrity to become governor within a very, very short period of time. And Caitlyn Jenner is trying to do the same thing. She's going to try to become governor without running the party. She's sort of a mild person in the Republican Party. That is, she's a social liberal and a fiscal conservative. And you know what? California, in my lifetime, has always been 10 years ahead of most American parts. And it would be a great thing because she's got some great ideas. And you know what? She doesn't really care about the future of the party. She wants to get California straight. And I think she could do a pretty good job. And I've been saying this for years now. Television has revolutionized everything. She's a reality star. 14 years and 20 seasons with the Kardashians, as nutty as they were. The last president was a reality star. And, it's television has made people look real and purposeful, and she's got as good a shot as anything. I understand from Nick the Greek in Vegas that her odds are 9-5 against. So she's shoring up as a pretty good bet.
They are some good odds. Joe Siracusa, as always, appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.